r/ask Reddit. Serious, in the heat of anger, what was the worst decision you've made? What were the consequences? Throwing my phone because I was arguing with the Lenovo customer support about the warranty on my broken laptop. The phone hit the TV, which cracked the screen on the phone and TV. Now that I'm using Internet Explorer on a library computer, I regret everything. After a series of frustrating events, duck it. Today is a good day to try a cigarette. Still trying to quit 9 years later. 9-year smoker, pack a day. Now nothing since November 2012. Just Essex. Worst decision I ever made while angry? Telling a suicidal friend he was a kitten and just wanted sympathy, so as usual, like most people, turned to suicide for that sympathy. Consequences? I saw a good friend blow his brains out that day. Most people don't have degrees in psychology. Your friend desperately needed help, but you were not equipped to offer the help. You might not have understood the gravity of the situation. Bottom line, his suicide was not a consequence of your words, but a consequence of severe depression. In an argument with my now wife at our first apartment, I, being alpha as duck, decided it was best to show her my love by punching a wall. 2 things. I had to repair the hole in the wall. I found a stud. Is this sort of thing learned? My dad never hit me, but when I really set him off, would have to get really bad. He would punch walls, break chairs, etc. Then when I found myself old enough to get pissed off at things, I would do the same. 4 years ago, I had just ended a very serious, very twisted relationship with someone I loved. We were out among mutual friends one night and he decided to hurt me by rubbing his new girlfriend in my face. Well, I got quite angry and decided to try and hurt him back. I talked to a nice guy at the bar and we seemed to get along very well, and I went with him to a party at his friend's house. That's how I ended up getting raped. It took a couple of years to get my head in functioning order enough to sleep with someone, and I still have some trust issues. I regret that night. Would take it all back. All the stupid, pitiful anger, if I could, but I also know that what happened has shaped who I am and how strong I am. I was making food, got angry, stubbed my toe on a salad bowl that was on the floor for some reason, kicked said salad bowl out of the way, got even angrier, went to leave, stubbed toe on salad bowl again, picked up salad bowl, smashed salad bowl, cue 3 hours of my 4-year-old sister crying and screaming, saying, "You killed my favorite salad bowl." I was eating some tuna after having a very bad day. My younger brother kept teasing me for something I don't remember now, and wouldn't shut up after I told him to several times. All of a sudden I snap, grab my fork and launch it at him. Fork hits him in the head. 5 seconds later blood starts coming out of his head with increasing intensity. Consequences? A lesson. If you are having a bad day, don't take it out on others. Especially your family, which is the only group of guys that really give a shit about you, plus a life scar on his head. Got into drunken fight with wife, drove off angrily, crashed into tree, spent a long time in intensive care, almost died, face permanently disfigured. I was in my dorm room at college. I was tubby and a bit of a loser. Played a lot of video games by myself. Anyway, my roommate and his friends always made fun of me, but one day it was especially bad. I tried ignoring them, but when he sprayed water on me, I just snapped and threw a pair of scissors at him. They got lodged in his arm. Someone else was filming it, and of course, it ended up on the internet. They immediately reported me to campus security. Parents were called. Lawyers got involved. Long story short, the stupid ducker taping it didn't delete it. Once the college staff and lawyers saw the video, they advised the duckers to drop it. Thankfully, cooler heads prevailed. I moved into a single room. Nobody else really liked those duckers either, so I enjoyed a small amount of fame for a couple weeks. But since nobody really liked me either, I was quickly forgotten. Middle school, always bullied by the same guy. After 18 months of this going on, he grabbed me by the shirt and said some kind of insult. I snapped and kept hitting his face till it was a bloody mess. Paramedics came and my friends testified that it wasn't my fault, so I dodged a heavy punishment there, although I had to do 120 hours of community service. Still, shitty friends for never standing up for me. Good thing is that I didn't get bullied by anyone anymore. At least the shitty friends testified for you. Glad you stood up for yourself. If your friends did, you may never have learned to stand up for yourself is one way to look at it. Found out a good friend raped my little sister, him 16, her 9. I was around 12 at the time, walked to his house. When he answered, I hit him in the head with a metal bat. Ding. Consequence for him, some juvie time plus sex offender shit. Mine was being depressed and feeling like I failed my family. But shit, the sound of the ding from the bat on his head kept me going. Dude, why the duck do you feel bad? You're a goddamn American hero. I was a little kid around 8 years old, and I had gotten in a fight with my sister. I got really pissed off and threw one of those mini CDs at her in a rage. It was a GameCube game, I think. It curved perfectly through the air and hit her right between the eyes. I'm laughing about it now, but she had a scar for a while. Similar story. I was sitting on my bed reading a magazine, and my sister came up to my doorway and started bugging me. I told her if she didn't quit, I'd throw the magazine at her. Now you wouldn't think a magazine is aerodynamic enough to be thrown accurately 20 feet, or at least not do any damage once it gets there. Anyway, she continued to pester me, doing so with the door cracked open just an inch. I sat up on my bed, threw that magazine like a ninja star straight through the crack in the door, and hit her squarely between the eyes. The spine left a red mark and she was hurt a little, but we both started laughing because neither of us could believe what just happened. My older sister was teasing me mercilessly when I was about 8 years old. I was stewing over it for about an hour and decided that the best revenge would be to destroy her favorite blanket that our mother had made by hand. One for her, one for me, cut from the same cloth. I grabbed her blanket and a pair of scissors and proceeded to cut the blankie to ribbons in front of her. She started laughing hysterically, which was not the reaction that I expected. I looked at what was left of the blanket and saw my initials on it and realized that I had mistakenly destroyed my favorite blankie. As someone who treasures everything my mom and dad made for me, I cringed really hard. A girl chased me out of a bar after an argument we had gotten into. Didn't know she was following me until she punched me in the back of my head. Turned around and elbowed her. I went to jail for that because I stayed till the cops arrived to give my side of the story. I had to take anger management classes and pay her for the insurance of her injury, emergency room visit, prescribing her ibuprofen, and now I have to show future employers a slip showing my case was dismissed. I don't know much about law, but I have been in some trouble. You may want to get a lawyer and see if you can get that whole thing expunged from your record. That way you wouldn't have to say anything to your employers. I told my dad I didn't respect him in high school. He threw me over a couch and I stopped being a punk kid. Punching a huge dent in the side of the refrigerator. I am not a smart man. Car broke down for the 20th time. Barely made it back into the driveway. No money for repairs. Angrily kick the rear of the car, smashing the tail light. Yell at my own stupidity and throw the keys far into the tree line. Immediately have to go find them because my house keys were also on there. When I was 14, my dad forgot to pick me up after school, and he told me to find my own way home. I walked approximately 8.5 miles to get to my house. Then he wouldn't let me in. I was so angry I went to my neighbor's house. Kid in the same grade as me lived there, Mike, and when I told him what happened he said I could come in. He had an older brother who smoked cigarettes and weed. I had never before smoked, drank, etc. But I was mad, really mad. We stole all his shit, got high and smoked all night in Mike's bedroom. Consequences: 11 years later, still smoke cigarettes, dealing with cancer. Worst decision ever, all because I was angry with my dad. Many years ago, me and ex-girlfriend were supposed to meet up after our respective parties. I get blackout drunk, wake up alone next morning, try calling her and texting, no answer. After a while I get pissy and leave angry messages on her answering machine. In the evening she calls me and calmly tells me the story about how I showed up severely inebriated at her party, alternately showing her with awkward professions of love and belittling her in front of her friends. I tried to pick random fights with the guys and hit on the girls. She helped me get home while I yelled at her and was mean most of the way there. When she dropped me off I got mad she wouldn't sleep with me. Complete and utter ouch hole. At this point I am suffering from the worst alcohol poisoning of my life and feeling like the smallest person in the world for embarrassing my girlfriend in such stupefying amounts. She tells me she might need a few days to think. She forgave me in the end after a million apologies and flowers. Never have I been so ashamed. When I was a wee lad aka 12 I had an argument with my mother. I became so mad I straight up punched a mirror and it broke and went everywhere. Had 3-inch shards of mirror lodge in my knuckles and forearm. My anger went from enraged to screaming beach in like 2 seconds flat. Slapped my girlfriend 10 years ago when I was 18. She said something that made me extremely angry and I slapped her. It wasn't a very hard slap. It was kind of in between. We were driving and I pulled over the side of the road and told her I was extremely sorry and that I would never do it again. I started crying. I was sure she was going to dump me. Most people would say she was stupid to stay with me, but she is an incredibly smart woman. I ultimately had to dump her 5 months later, but I certainly never physically attacked her or any other woman again. The consequences are that I have to live with the shame of having struck a woman whom I loved, and still do, dearly when she did nothing aggressive towards me whatsoever. She proved she was an absolute angel when she forgave me after having done it. The other consequence is that I'm willing to admit that I did it so other young and naive daters don't make the same mistake I did. You don't meet women this kind and dear often. One that will forgive being slapped isn't there because she's trying to manipulate you or cheat on you or anything else. She's there because she really loves you. She probably hates me since I dumped her. I became an atheist. Those were the rules of Christianity. I couldn't be unequally yoked with her. I also kind of hate myself for having done it. She was my first girlfriend and it took a few years to find out just how incredibly unique and kind she was, and how much those traits can be lacking in many women. Don't take anything or anyone for granted, and never excuse what you know you did wrong. I was playing chess with my mom. I was in my elementary school's chess club at the time, so I thought I was pretty hot shit. I was 10 however, and she was an adult, so she was beating my ass without effort. I was a small donghead, so it didn't take long for me to reach my 10-year-old boiling point. In a fit of misplaced child rage, I picked up one of her knights and I bit it. It was a cheap plastic set, so I managed to take a chip out of it. The knight remains chipped, and to this day whenever I get upset about something mum just says don't bite the pony. Be me. Stupid drunk at 2:30 am. Girlfriend of 3 months is driving us back to her place when I make snide remark about how she was dressed. A mile away from her apartment, girlfriend stops car, forces me to get out, and leaves. I continue my trek to her apartment on foot, merrily singing on the road again while doing so. Arrive at her apartment. Doors locked. Check under mat. She's taken the spare key in with her. Call girlfriend. No answer. Call girlfriend again. No answer. Repeat this 22 times. All to no avail. Quietly knock on door. No answer. A little louder. No answer. Crescendo into banging on door. No answer. 20 minutes pass. Cops show up. Can't talk my way out of this one. Go to jail. Girlfriend bails me out. Brings me back to her place. We have sex the next afternoon. After having a horrible match of StarCraft 2 I threw a spoon at one of my monitors. The consequences were that I had to get a new monitor. When I was a kid my little sister did something to enrage me. She is standing in front of one of the walls and I decide to wind up and launch the biggest haymaker a 6-year-old can muster. It was a glorious swing that ended up impacting the wall as she matrixed out of the way. I end up running to my mom screaming and bawling that my sister was mean, so I tried to punch her, but she moved causing me to injure myself. My mom laughed at me and walked away. When I was 14, I kicked my dog. It didn't hurt her badly. She licked me afterward. But I can't think of anything I've ever done in anger that I have regretted as much or for as long. It's been 23 years and I still remember her turning to lick me. What an amazing animal. Lying to my parents about being arrested. Every ducking lawyer sent letters to my home address. I was living with my parents at the time. I figured I'd just pay bail, hire a lawyer, and this would be handled without them knowing. They confronted me and man were they pissed. All that is in the past now and they actually helped me through it. Don't exclude family from serious shit. When I was young, about 8, a couple kids and I were donging around in the woods. One thing led to another and giant barrels were being hurled at me from 20 feet in the air with derogatory terms being slung at me as well. These ducking kids had built tree stands. I was, of course, the minority in this situation, facing 2 other kids on my own. Eventually they came down. I was pissed. In a fit of fury I picked up a stick and challenged the mongoloid looking one to a fight. I would whoop his ass, with honor. A couple battered arms and legs later I had the kid backed against a bush. Game over, son. With rage and sweet vengeance coursing through my veins I swung my stick with visions of Batausea landing a killing blow on his enemies. Justice was about to be served. Clocked him right on the top of the head. He dropped, clutching his head. Blood sprayed from his skull like a water sprinkler on a lawn in suburban America. I had not considered that my stick would have a 1/4-inch stub at the end which would ultimately penetrate his cranium. Realizing what I did, I sprinted home. 2 miles away. I never apologized to the kid. Seeing him in school was quite awkward, but he never dared to make another racist comment again. Don't leave kids unattended in the woods. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.